if you want to hear all about what I think about balance in college and all the things we need to consider, then stick around. It's going to be a fun little episode today, and I'm going to walk you through some things that I feel like could help you gather a bit of a sense of balance. I'm your host, Angie Michelle, with Barely Adulting, the no-filter chat about our 20s. Find us on Spotify, YouTube, and follow Angie76, your host, on social media. Good morning and welcome back to the podcast. It is 10:30 in the morning and I'm recording a podcast on a Thursday because I am extremely busy. It is my busy season with dance and everything about it. So doing my best. I'm coming on here. Don't worry, I'm not forgetting about this. The other day I made an Instagram story and I was like, hey guys, I want to make a podcast. It's going to be about college wellness, all things college. Please ask me questions. What do you want me to talk about? What are your needs? What are your wants? What are we all struggling with as a group? And I got like over 32 responses, which was wild. It's not that I don't get responses from you guys. It's just that not a lot of people normally engage with the concept of me being on social media and things like that. I guess I'll show you guys right here if you're actually watching the video. There's a bajillion questions we need to get through, but the biggest thing of this day was people asking how to find balance in college. And I am so passionate about this because I feel that finding balance in college is something we all don't really have. But the answer to how to find balance is such an easy to say thing, but not so easily done. And so I'm curious to see what you guys are going to think with what I'm going to say, but you could basically solve all of your problems, guys, if you learned how to say no to the right things at the right time, which is mind-boggling to some people, because I found that a lot of people in college are doing everything and nothing at all at the same time. They'll be in 3 student orgs. They'll be doing 15 to 18 hours of schoolwork. They'll be working a part-time job. They'll be going out in the evenings or multiple days a week. I mean, there's so many things that people do because of this idea of fear of missing out, or I just don't want to regret later not having done these things today because what if? And guys, these what ifs, like, sure, you can say like they're valid because you're young and you're supposed to enjoy what you're doing. I'm not saying it's not, but if it's not doing you any good, if you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, this thing that I chose to not say no to yesterday, is it going to make me feel crappy the next morning? Because if it is, guys, like, that's on you, and that's why you don't feel balanced, because you're kind of breaking promises to yourself that you're going to put yourself first by not doing so and putting other people first and society's expectations of what college is like first and not really giving that to yourself. So that's what we're going to unpack today. That is today's episode. If you want to hear all about what I think about balance in college and all the things we need to consider, then stick around. It's going to be a fun little episode today, and I'm going to walk you through some things that I feel like could help you gather a bit of a sense of balance. I always say this, and I'm going to preface it. I'm literally 20 years old. I am your age, so I have not been through it yet. I'm going through it. Like, currently as we speak, I myself feel like I don't have balance. Not all the time, but I feel like this semester I'm handling it a little bit better, but it goes on, it goes off, and it's a constant cycle. And so it's about learning the things that work for me, and what I'm going to do today is share what works for me. What do I think? What is my thought process with some of these things? And you can take it or you can leave it. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to preach to you about what's right or wrong. You are your own person. You are an adult as you may want to be, and you're allowed to make your own decisions. I'm just going to share my experience, my perspective, my understanding, and what I've seen some of my friends go through. And hopefully you can take at least one piece of today's podcast and apply it to your life and feel better. And perhaps you'll feel that you have a little bit more of balance and that sense in your life, which, guys, if I were to count it, and I think I'm going to count it just for the fun of it. Let's see. We have 6. So many of them are about balance in university. Balance, time management, all of the above. So let's unpack it and let's do this. If you're new to the podcast, my name is Angie. I am your host of Barely Adulting. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. Follow me at Angem76, your host on social media, right about anywhere you could possibly imagine. I am so happy to be hosting this. If you're 20, if you're 20-something, if you're about to go to college, this is the place for you to go. We are going to discuss all those things that we're all going through, and we're going to hopefully start thinking about things a little bit differently so that we can lead healthier, more good, life-centered lives, okay? Yeah, let's get started. First things first, right? I am a girl who loves to be busy. I am a busy gal. If we look at last semester, your girl was not having a single break any day of the week from her classes. I was actually taking an engineer course as well, which was really hard. Props to y'all engineers. I don't know how you do it. I'm a business major. That's enough for me. But I was in an engineer class. I had a lab and lecture. It was 5 days a week. That class in itself was already tiring the heck out of me, but then I had other 8 a.m.s. I had a really difficult law class. I had a very difficult time managing my time because I was not only doing really hard coursework, I was also leading a student-led dance team, and I was dancing in the show, which meant I had practices for said show. I'm also in a relationship. The best, slay. I love to see my family, so I like to go home every now and then, but also I need to sleep and I need to eat. And I tell you this because I like to say when things get really overwhelming, what we tend to do as 20-year-old individuals is we sacrifice something, whether that is your sleep or your eating habits or your grades, or if you're actually doing what you need to do for work, you're going to sacrifice something. And I feel like that's very common. Everyone I know, including myself, has had that happen to them at least once in college. For me last semester, it was eating. I wasn't not eating, but I was I don't know how to explain it. I just wasn't getting the same nutrients that I usually get. If we were to sit and say that a smoothie for breakfast was going to be more nutritional than having 2 eggs and a toast, obviously not the same, not the greatest. But the thing about me is I will always sleep. You can't take that away from me. And was I going to sleep later? Yes. Did I sacrifice it to some extent? Yes. But now going into the semester, what I did, and I was I'm not happy. I was taking that out on people around me. And I think that's something we all kind of do, right? When life outside gets really overwhelming, our inside gets really overwhelming. And sometimes when our insides are really overwhelming, then we don't really know how to give our best to other people because you can barely handle yourself, right? So how are you going to give your best self to other people? When a lot of things are going on, it's okay. You can't always get out of it, and I understand that. But be mindful about it. Be able to step back and actually evaluate what didn't work. I know last semester did not work for me. I know that I could not handle doing that same rhythm of life this semester, knowing that I was going to be traveling out of town for 7 weeks for dance. I knew that if I didn't take 2 days off of school on Tuesdays and Thursdays with my schedule this semester, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I sat down and I was like, not doing this again. I talked to my officer team in the dance organization, and I was like, guys, mental health wise, for my sanity, for everyone's sanity, I want to give my best work as an officer. I want to be able to make the best videos that I can make for this team, for that show. I want to be present, but that is going to mean I'm not going to be able to be in as many dances this semester. I'm going to commit to Monday nights. I'm going to do my jobs, but I cannot fulfill and fully commit to doing those dances. At the same time, I looked at my schedule and I was like, okay, I am going to ensure that my schedule this next semester is going to have online classes and maybe 2 or max 3 classes in person. That's exactly what I did. So I only have 1 class on Wednesdays. I have 2 classes on Monday. I have 1 class on Fridays, and sometimes it's on Zoom, and the other 2 are just online, and that works for me. And I made the conscious decision to see that I wasn't doing good, that I wasn't feeling good, and that I needed to make a change because I had lost all the balance in my life. And some of the negative things about losing balance in your life, guys, is that, again, it affects your well-being. If you don't feel balanced, you kind of lose that sense of feeling like yourself. If you don't feel like yourself, people around you are going to believe and sense that you're not being yourself. And when it comes to the people you really care about, you want to make sure that you're giving them your best, and can't do that if you're not taking care of yourself first. So that's step one, I think, for balance. To me, it's about stepping back and actually evaluating what worked and what didn't in this past time that really took you out of your center, right? Another thing that's super, super important, and that I find a lot of us college students, including myself, struggle with, is saying no. I think when it comes to being busy, personally, I don't say no very often. So if it's like a professional, academic opportunity, work, any of those, I tend to just pile it up, say yes, and kind of go with it, because I find that often it's beneficial in the long run. It's going to look great on my resume. It's going to be something that keeps me busy, entertained, is fueling me, making me learn in some way. And that is good to some extent, but it's also not, because where I don't say no to those very time-intensive things as often, I am probably a lot more comfortable saying no to like certain social things. Like, I am not someone who you're gonna catch ever out in an area where people go out in the evening to the clubs and things like that. In college, it's common, but I don't like it and I don't do it, and I have no shame in saying that, because it doesn't make me feel good, doesn't make me feel comfortable. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna judge you for it, because you're young. We can all make our own decisions, and I don't care. But for me, it's more of the, when I think about that, I think, how is that really going to make me feel the next morning if I get home super late? If for any reason, you know what I mean, anything you do at whatever age you are, like, if it's not going to make you feel good the next morning, let's think about that. And why are you doing it? What is your motive? Is it to please other people? Is it to please society's expectations? Because I think a lot more people than we think actually don't feel good doing some of these very, big things in college that everyone talks about. And for some reason, a lot of people find shame in saying no to that. The societal pressure is so big that it matters more to people than their own well-being, and that is where the problem is. I think when we all go away to college, we get into this place where I think a lot of voices are speaking to us, right? There is your parents, who obviously want the absolute best for you. They want you to have a good time, but they want you to be safe, but they want you to be doing good in school. When you are in a, good school in general, like, school is going to be kind of sending your way, hey, apply to internships, make sure you're doing all the professional things, make sure this, make sure that, kind of like stay on it when it comes to pursuing your career, do good in school, all those things which really matter, and they are going to affect your future in a positive way. So that's something to keep in mind. But then there's this other side where people are like, college are the best 4 years of your life. You are never going to get that time back. You need to make the most out of those 4 years, because after that, everything goes downhill. Nothing feels the same. Everything is wrong with the world. You're going to have to work a 9 to 5. There is a lot of fear in the things you hear from so many voices. I think it's a lot of contradiction, because it's like, focus on this, but also don't forget to have fun, but also don't make stupid decisions, but also be smart. And I think we're overwhelmed. I think we're having like an information overload in our head when we get to college, and that leads to people not knowing how to say no. It's crazy, but it's really important to speak up about this. And like, my roommate and I were talking about this the other day. Like, I think I've gotten pretty good at standing up for myself, setting boundaries, and setting boundaries is one of the biggest ways to say no. You don't have to say, no, I'm not going to be part of this organization, or no, I'm not going to do this. It's more of like, hey, I'm going to communicate to you that this is how much I can put in. If that is not doable for this organization, if that is not doable for you, it's not going to work for me. And you have to be okay with saying that. You're not a bad person for setting a limit. You're not a bad person for saying no to something that you know in your heart doesn't actually make you happy. And you're not a bad person for stepping back and maybe like lowering a little bit the rhythm of your life, whether that means taking one less class every semester or just balancing it out with taking 1 or 2 online classes each semester. You are not less capable for making the decision to put yourself first as a priority so that you can feel good and give your best to every aspect of your life. You cannot be giving 100% to every aspect of your life. It's impossible. It's not human, because you have to be able to take care of each section with enough care. And if you have an area of your life like work or school that is overloading you, that is overwhelming you, that is overstressing you, you're not going to pay attention to everything else, because in your brain, because of the way your brain works, it won't matter. That's a big deal, you know? So if you can understand what I'm saying, you gotta know how to say no. One of my advisors in one of my freshman year courses in business school, she made this big deal one day. There was a whole lesson on how saying no to other people and other things is saying yes to you. And if you start looking at things that way rather than from I'm gonna miss out, there's this fear of missing out, then I feel like you will find a lot more fulfillment in your life, because when you start prioritizing those things that do benefit you, those things that do lead to you being a healthy individual, and those things that are going to make you feel good in the long run, you're going to notice a difference in your self-esteem. You're going to notice a difference in your overall mood. Trust me, I speak from experience. I feel like when I surround myself with things that align with my values, my passions, what I enjoy to do, I'm happier. I am in a far better mood, and overall, I feel like I'm more pleasant to be around. And that's the goal. That's what we all want to do. That's what we all want to feel. We want to feel like it isn't a burden for me to sit down and eat because I have other things to do. We want to feel like it isn't a burden for me to go to sleep early because people are going to be mad at me because I didn't go out to this, gathering that was on a Wednesday night at 11:30 p.m. So I would say, guys, start asking yourself those questions of, hey, how will I feel tomorrow if I say yes to this? If the answer to that question is, I am not going to feel any better than I felt today, then it's time to start thinking about whether I actually want to make the choice to say yes to that or not. And when you make that a habit in your life, you might just start to feel like you are more aligned with what you actually enjoy to do, and you might actually start to feel like your life is more balanced than you have ever felt before. And when it comes to that, it all comes to the bottom line of saying no. Because every no you say to something else is a yes you say to yourself. And every yes you say to yourself that will benefit you in the long run is going to be one that helps you grow as a person, that helps you be a better person, and that helps you be around people in a more enjoyable way. Because if you feel good in yourself, you're going to feel good around other people. And it's an ongoing process. It's easier said than done, and I know that for a fact. I tend to let things overpile for me in the area of academics and work, but it's important. You got to start right now, because in college, you still have a tad bit more freedom. If you can figure out how to set those boundaries, what you want in your life, you're gonna have a better chance of handling that better when you're out in the workforce, handling perhaps a family, perhaps living on your own. There is a lot. And if we think about that right now and we actually manage it, then we will get better results in the long run. Because we all are feeling the same way, we should talk about it more. And we should discuss ways to approach balancing our lives while we're in college. Because again, it's the first time you're ever facing the crazy of you gotta feed yourself, gotta clean your house, gotta go to school, gotta drive yourself this place, get gas, get groceries, but also don't forget to sleep. Don't forget that you still should have fun and see other people, but also do good in school, and also do this and also do that. A lot of expectations. You're not supposed to get it right the first time. It's okay to feel like there's a little bit of a lack of balance because you're learning. It's the first time you're actually faced with so much, right? That's why we're talking about information overload in your head. And we got to focus on our priorities. Priorities are really important to find balance. If your priority is to have fun, then that's your choice. And having fun might be what you say yes to more often than, a professional, academic, or work thing. But if your priority is actually your wellness, then perhaps you will go towards things that don't stress you out, things that make you feel good, and you will apply that principle that we were talking about how will this make me feel tomorrow. If your priorities, however, are very career-driven, achievement-driven, then you'll find that that's what you lean towards. It's about understanding what we're going to place our priorities towards. If you put all your priorities in something that is stress heavy, time commitment heavy, and just overall kind of a little more difficult, which is okay, and there's nothing wrong with it, you're going to have to, I think, be more okay with feeling that sense of I don't have balance. Because I truly feel, from my experience, and just talking with all of my friends that have felt the same thing before, that the only time I've felt balance in my life is when I put myself first. And that goes above school, above work, above other people's plans, above anything. And I focus on feeling my life, my health, and an even more important thing, my soul, because it's important to remember you are not just your body, you have a soul. You gotta feed your spirit, whatever that might mean to you. For me, it might mean going to church, it might mean doing some journaling. For you, it might mean meditating, it might mean many different things, but you have to fuel your mind, your body, and your soul in order to feel complete, to feel balanced. And some things are going to be a lot more demanding on one of those things, like your mind or your body, than your spirit and your soul. And if you forget about your soul, you're going to forget about a crucial part of who you are, and that is where you're going to start to feel a lot of imbalance. That is what I have to say about that. That is literally just addressing one of the topics, one of the questions that we have on the many that were sent on that day. But I know it's hard. We are all going through it. I am personally going through it myself. I am quite literally 20. There's a lot going on, a lot of things I feel I have to get done, very little time. But the truth is, life is just starting. We have time to figure this out. We're not supposed to have it figured out on day one, but it's important to be mindful and make an effort to actually understand why we feel that way and how we can get to feeling better and feeling like there's balance in our lives. Because when you make that effort, you're growing and you're maturing, and I think that's what life is about at this stage of our life. And you got this. We're gonna figure it out, and stay tuned, because I think the next podcast I am quite very much gonna walk through every little question that was submitted on that day. I'm gonna call it the college questionnaire, and answering right about anything y'all might want me to talk about. Please stay tuned. Come back if you enjoyed the experiences, the tools, the advice that was shared in this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope February treats you guys amazingly. May this be a month full of love, full of happiness, and great opportunities, and I can't wait to see y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.